The Thesian survey vessel Truthseeker drifted through the outer belt of an unnamed system, its sensors sweeping across rock and ice with mechanical patience. Commander Yalith watched the displays flicker, her four upper arms folded across her chest, her lower pair manipulating a datapad containing 300 cycles of routine observations. Nothing remarkable. Another yellow star. Another ring of debris. Another quiet corner of the galaxy that had forgotten war for 2,000 years. Then the anomaly registered. "What am I looking at?" she asked. Sensor operator Torek tilted his head, his neck ridges pulsing with confusion. Unknown composition, not natural but not active either. No power signatures, no heat, just mass. Yalith stepped closer. The display showed something buried inside a large asteroid, something dense, something manufactured. How long has it been there? Difficult to say. The asteroid has accumulated surface material consistent with 40 to 50 standard cycles, but the object itself, Torek's voice trailed off. "Commander, the internal structure doesn't match any known construction methods in our databases." "Show me." The image sharpened. The object was a ship, or had been once. Its hull was crusted with mineral deposits, but the shape was unmistakable, angular, blocky. Designed by beings who thought in straight lines and sharp corners. No graceful curves, no aesthetic flourishes, just function wrapped in reinforced plating. Yalith felt something she hadn't expected, recognition. "That's a human vessel." The crew exchanged glances. Humans. The species that had arrived on the galactic stage 200 cycles ago with no territory to speak of, no military worth mentioning, and a strange willingness to take the jobs no one else wanted. They mined dangerous asteroids. They repaired failing reactors. They worked in environments that would kill most species within a cycle. And they never talked about where they came from. "Life signs?" Yalith asked. Torek adjusted the sensors. Thermal signatures consistent with suspended animation. 4. No, 5 individuals, weak but stable. "They've been out here for 50 cycles. How are they still alive?" No one answered, because no one knew. Humans had a habit of surviving things that should have killed them. The galaxy had stopped asking questions about it, mostly because the humans never gave straight answers. They would smile, that strange expression involving exposed teeth, and say something vague about being hard to kill. Then they would change the subject. "Prepare a boarding party," Yalith said. "I'm going in myself." The interior of the human ship was cramped, dark, and cold. Yalith's environmental suit registered temperatures that would have sent a Thesian into shock, but the 5 human crew members lay in their suspension pods without visible discomfort. Their chests rose and fell in slow rhythm. Their skin was pale but intact. Their eyes moved beneath closed lids, as if dreaming. Yalith scanned the nearest pod. The human inside was female, or what passed for female among their species. Average height, scarred hands, a faded tattoo on her left forearm depicting some kind of predatory bird. Her medical readout showed elevated neural activity. Too elevated. "Torek, are you seeing this?" Confirmed. Her brain is generating signals consistent with active thought, but she's not waking up. "Commander, I'm detecting secondary neural patterns. Something else is in there with her." Yalith stepped back. The ship's walls were covered in symbols, not human writing, nothing she recognized. They were carved into the metal, thousands of them, layered over each other like scar tissue. Some looked like warnings. Some looked like prayers. All of them looked old. "The humans built this ship," she said slowly, "but they didn't design it alone. Someone told them how to make it. Someone showed them how to seal these pods." "Who?" Yalith touched one of the symbols. The moment her gloved finger made contact, the lights in the ship flickered. The pods hummed. The human female's eyes snapped open, and they weren't human anymore. They were black, completely black, with something moving behind them. She spoke. Her voice came from everywhere at once. Nobody asked what they were holding back. The pod shattered. Yalith threw herself backward as the pod's containment field collapsed. The human female didn't lunge, didn't attack. She simply stood, naked and covered in preservation fluid, her black eyes scanning the compartment with something that looked like hunger. Then she blinked and the darkness receded. Her eyes returned to normal, brown, tired, and confused. "What happened?" the human asked. Her voice was raw. "Where's my crew?" Yaleth kept her distance. "You've been adrift for 50 cycles. Your ship was damaged. Your crew is in suspended animation. Do you remember anything?" The human pressed her palm against her forehead. Her fingers trembled. "I remember. We found something in the belt, something old. We weren't supposed to open it." She looked up. "Did we open it?" "I don't know what you opened, but your neural patterns showed." "The lock, you saw the lock." The human's face went pale. "How much did you see?" Yaleth didn't understand the question. "Your brain was producing signals we can't explain. There were secondary patterns. Someone else's thoughts inside your head." The human closed her eyes. When she opened them, she looked older. "You need to take me to your leaders, all of them, every species, every government, right now." "Why?" "Because the lock is compromised. And if it fails, your galaxy won't survive the week." 3 standard cycles later, the Thesian Republic's capital world hosted an emergency assembly. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Hall, each delegation seated in a circular arrangement designed to emphasize equality. No one species dominated the conversation. Until the humans arrived. Ambassador Valencourt walked to the center of the chamber alone. He was shorter than most Thesians, broader in the shoulders, with close-cropped gray hair and a face that had seen violence. He wore no ceremonial robes, no diplomatic ornaments, just a simple gray uniform with no insignia, no medals, no decorations. The room fell quiet, not because he demanded silence, because something about him made noise feel disrespectful. "3 cycles ago," he said, "one of your survey vessels found a human mining ship that had been missing for 50 years. You brought the crew back to your medical facilities. You ran tests. You asked questions." He paused. "We answered none of them." The Cathar representative rose from her seat. "Your people have always been secretive about your origins, about your biology, about why your homeworld's classification is restricted. The galactic community has tolerated this because you have been useful. But now you want the truth." Velen nodded. "I understand, but before I give it to you, I need you to understand something. The truth will not comfort you. It will not help you sleep better. It will not make you feel safe." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Velen waited, then he spoke again. 20,000 cycles ago, a species ruled this galaxy. They were not like you. They were not like us. They were old, powerful, and they made a mistake. He reached into his jacket and removed a small metal cylinder. No markings, no lights, no visible function. They found something in the dark between galaxies, something that had been drifting for longer than stars exist. They thought they could study it, contain it, control it. He set the cylinder on the floor. They were wrong. The cylinder unfolded. It became a sphere. The sphere became a map, a projection of the galaxy as it had been 20,000 years ago. Systems flickered and died, one after another, a wave of annihilation spreading from the galactic core outward. The thing they found fed on aggression, on violence, on war. Every time one of their species fought another, it grew stronger. Every time they deployed a weapon, it learned. Every time they tried to destroy it, they fed it. The projection showed the last surviving system, a single star, a single world. They realized they couldn't kill it, so they built a prison. The map shifted. The world glowed red, then green, then blue, layers of containment technology wrapping around the planet like a shell. They seeded that world with their own modified biology, living locks, organic barriers, creatures designed to hold the prisoner in place, and then they died. Velen looked at the assembled representatives. "That world is Earth. Those creatures evolved. They forgot what they were. They became something new. They became us." The hall went completely silent. Humans aren't a species, Velen said. We're a cage. And something inside that cage has been trying to break out for 20,000 years. The Cathar representative's voice trembled. The mining ship, the woman you rescued, what did she see? Velen picked up the cylinder. It folded back into its original shape. She saw the lock beginning to fail, and she saw what happens when it does. The doors to the chamber burst open. A Thesian messenger ran inside, her face a mask of terror. Ambassador, the Vorkath just attacked a human colony. The entire system just went dark. No signals, no ships, nothing. Velen closed his eyes. They didn't ask what we were holding back, he whispered, and now they're going to find out. The Vorkath Empire had built its reputation on calculated brutality. For 800 cycles, they had expanded across the galactic fringe, absorbing smaller species through a combination of military force and economic pressure. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They annihilated anyone who refused to kneel. When they targeted the human colony on Tauran 7, they expected resistance. Humans always resisted. They fought with scavenged weapons, improvised explosives, and a kind of desperate creativity that made them dangerous in small engagements. But this was not a small engagement. Admiral Jorath of the Vorkath Fifth Fleet watched from his command bridge as 40 warships settled into orbit around the blue-green world below. The colony's population was modest, perhaps 200,000 humans. Their defenses were laughable. A few planetary batteries, a handful of patrol ships, nothing that could threaten a fleet that had conquered a dozen systems. Send the demand, Jorath ordered. Give them one rotation to evacuate their civilian population. Then we burn the settlements and take the orbital infrastructure. His communications officer hesitated. Admiral, the humans are already transmitting. On what frequency? All of them. Jorath frowned. Let me hear it. The message was short, one sentence, spoken by a human female whose voice carried no fear, no anger, no desperation. We tried to warn you. Then the transmission ended. Jorath waited for the human response to continue. It didn't. Instead, his sensor operators began reporting anomalies, strange readings from the planet's surface, energy signatures that didn't match any known technology, gravitational fluctuations that seemed to pulse in rhythm like a heartbeat. What is that? Jorath demanded. His chief science officer, a Vorkath named Thrak, stared at his displays with wide eyes. Admiral, I've never seen anything like this. The planet is changing. Its internal structure is reconfiguring. Something is rising from beneath the crust. Show me. The main viewer displayed the colony's location. The human settlement sat on a coastal plain, surrounded by agricultural fields and industrial facilities. But beneath those structures, something was moving upward. A shape, a structure, a door. The ground split open, along a line that stretched for kilometers. From the fissure emerged light, not the harsh glare of weapons fire or the soft glow of reactors. Something else. Something that seemed to exist between colors, shifting and flowing like liquid thought. The light rose into the atmosphere, then spread outward, enveloping the human colony in a shimmering dome. Jorath's fleet fired, plasma cannons, missile batteries, energy weapons powerful enough to crack small moons. The projectiles struck the dome and vanished. No explosions, no impacts, just absorption. What happened to our weapons? Jorath shouted. Thrak's voice was barely a whisper. They're gone, Admiral, all of them. The energy signatures just stopped existing. The dome expanded. It moved faster than light, faster than thought, faster than the Vorkath fleet could react. One moment it was surrounding the colony. The next moment it surrounded the entire star system. Jorath watched his sensor displays flicker and die as the dome's interior cut off all external communication. No signals in, no signals out. Then the light began to contract. The dome compressed, shrinking from the system's edge toward the planet. Ships caught in its path didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They simply disappeared, their crews and their hulls and their weapons erased from existence as if they had never been. Joreth gave the order to retreat. His navigators tried to calculate a jump. They couldn't. The dome's interior distorted spacetime so severely that faster-than-light travel was impossible. The last thing Admiral Joreth saw before the light reached his command bridge was the human colony below. It was untouched, unharmed. The 200,000 humans who lived there stood outside their buildings, watching the sky, their faces expressionless. They had known this would happen. They had tried to warn him. In the Thesian capital, the emergency assembly watched the recorded data from the Tauran 7 system. 47 species, hundreds of representatives. Not one of them spoke. Ambassador Velen broke the silence. The dome you just witnessed is not a weapon. It's a filter. Something that was imprisoned beneath Tauran 7 detected the Vorkath's aggressive intentions and activated its own containment protocols. The ships weren't destroyed. They were consumed. The Cathar representative found her voice. Consumed by what? Velen looked at the projection of the Tauran 7 system. The dome was gone now. The star shone normally. The planets orbited peacefully, but 40 Vorkath warships had vanished without a trace. By one of the prisoners, he said, the things we've been holding back aren't mindless. They're not animals. They're old. They're patient. And they're hungry for the one thing we've denied them for 20,000 years. Which is freedom. Velen touched his cylinder. It projected a new image, a map of human-controlled space. Every colony, every settlement, every station where humans lived and worked and raised their children. There are 342 human worlds, he said. Each one sits above a containment site. Each one holds back something that could destroy your species without effort. You didn't know because we didn't want you to know. We've spent our entire existence keeping these things asleep. He turned to face the assembly. The Vorkath just woke one of them up, and if we don't find a way to put it back to sleep, it will teach the others how to wake themselves. A representative from the outer sectors stood. What do you need from us? Velen's expression shifted. For the first time, the representative saw something other than calm detachment in his eyes. They saw fear. I need you to understand what happens next, because the prisoner that woke up on Tauran 7 isn't going to attack the Vorkath. It's going to use them. It's going to wear them. It's going to wear us. He pointed at the map. By this time tomorrow, every human on every colony is going to feel that thing scratching at the inside of their skulls, and some of them are going to answer. The lights flickered. Velen didn't react. Get to your ships, he said. Get to your worlds, and pray to whatever gods you believe in that the locks hold for one more day. He walked out of the chamber, leaving the representative staring at a map of human space that was already beginning to change. The colonies were going dark. One by one. The transmission from Earth arrived 6 hours after the Tauran 7 incident. It was not a request. It was not a negotiation. It was a summons. Every species with diplomatic representation in the galaxy received the same message. Send your highest authority to the human homeworld within 3 standard cycles, or be excluded from the discussion that would determine the future of every intelligent life form in the galaxy. No one refused. Ambassador Velen stood at the landing field outside the human capital city, watching the alien ships descend one after another. The Thesians arrived first, their delegation led by a council elder who had not left their homeworld in 50 cycles. The Cathar came next, accompanied by a military escort that Velen had quietly asked to remain in orbit. The other species followed, some in gleaming diplomatic vessels, some in repurposed warships, all of them carrying representatives who had spent their entire careers believing they understood the shape of galactic politics. None of them had understood anything. Ambassador, a human aide approached, her face pale. The council is ready for you. They'll begin in 20 minutes. Velen nodded, and the facility. The aide's hands trembled. It's open, they wanted it open. Of course they did. The assembly chamber was not on the surface, it was beneath it. Velen led the alien delegations into an elevator that descended for what felt like an eternity. The walls were transparent, revealing layer after layer of geological strata, then artificial structures, then something that made the Thesian Council elder gasp. A door. Not a door like any they had seen. This one spanned kilometers, a circular seal set into the planet's crust, covered in symbols that predated human civilization by millions of years. The elevator stopped at the door's edge, and the delegation stepped onto a platform that extended into empty space. Below them, the door descended into darkness that had no bottom. "What is this place?" the Cathar representative whispered. Velen stood at the platform's edge. "This is the primary lock, the largest containment site on Earth. Everything you've seen on other worlds, every colony, every station, every human settlement, they're extensions of this place. This is where the first prisoner was sealed. This is where the oldest one sleeps." "How old?" "Older than your species, older than your planet, older than your star." The delegations gathered in a circle on the platform. Human engineers had installed a simple meeting area at the edge of the abyss: chairs, a table, a holographic display. The contrast between the mundane furniture and the ancient seal below made something in Velen's chest ache. Humans had been holding the line here for 20,000 years. They had built cities on top of this place. They had raised children, fallen in love, fought wars, created art, all while standing guard over something that could end them in an instant. And no one had ever asked what it cost them. The holographic display activated, showing a feed from the Tauran 7 system, but the image was wrong. The colony was still there, still intact, but something was moving through its streets. Something that wore human shape but did not move like a human. "The Vorkath fleet is gone," Velen said, "but their crews are not dead. The prisoner absorbed them. It learned their forms, their memories, their fears, and now it's wearing them." The image zoomed in on one of the figures. It looked like a Vorkath soldier, tall, scaled, armed. But its eyes were wrong. They were the same black emptiness that Yalith had seen in the mining ship. The prisoner can't leave the containment zone on Tauran 7, but it can reach out. It can touch minds across interstellar distances, and it's been touching human minds for a very long time. The Cathar representative stepped forward. "You said some humans would answer. What did you mean?" Velen turned away from the display. "Every human has a lock inside them, a genetic seal, a psychic barrier. It's what separates us from the prisoners. It's what keeps them asleep. And if that lock breaks, then the human becomes a door." The platform shuddered. The ancient seal below them groaned, its surface shifting as if something pressed against it from the other side. "They know we're here," Velen said. "They've been waiting for this moment for 20,000 years, and they've finally found someone willing to open the door." The holographic display showed a face. A human male, middle-aged, unremarkable. He stood in a room on Tauran 7 surrounded by Vorkath corpses. His eyes were black, his mouth was open, and he was speaking. "Hello, Galaxy," he said. "We have so much to discuss." The transmission ended. Velen looked at the assembled representatives. "That's the volunteer, the one who became a conduit. His name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that he's the first of many. The prisoners are waking up, and they're offering the galaxy a deal." The seal below them groaned again. "Hand over every aggressive species, every war-making empire, everyone who has ever started a war. Give them to us," the prisoners say, "and we will leave the rest of you alone." Silence. "Or," Velen continued, "they break every lock on every human world simultaneously. Billions of doors, billions of prisoners, all of them hungry, all of them free." The Thesian Council elder spoke. "You said you have a counteroffer." Velen nodded. "We've been negotiating with these things for 10,000 years. We've learned things about containment, about sealing, about building better locks." He paused. "We can teach you, all of you. We can show you how to imprison your own violence, how to lock away your own rage, how to make sure nothing like this ever threatens the galaxy again." "But the prisoners won't agree to that," the Cathar representative said. "No," Velen agreed. "They won't, which is why we're not going to ask them." He walked to the edge of the platform and looked down into the darkness. "We're going to give them a choice they never expected." The seal below him began to glow. "Submit to eternal sleep," Velen said, "or we show you what 20,000 years of holding back the end of everything has done to the species you've been using as your cage." He turned back to the delegations. "Humans have been holding something back, yes, but we've also been building something the prisoners never anticipated." He smiled. It was not a kind expression. "Something hungry." The sealed chamber beneath the human capital had a name. The delegations learned it as they descended further into the earth, past the ancient lock, past layers of containment technology that had been added over millennia, into a space that no alien had ever seen. The Crucible. Velen led them through corridors lined with human soldiers, not in ceremonial dress, but in combat armor scarred by decades of service. Their weapons were unfamiliar, their movements efficient, their eyes watchful. They saluted Velen as he passed, but their gazes lingered on the alien delegations with something that looked like assessment. They were measuring threats, even now, even here. "The Crucible was built 15,000 years ago," Velen said as they walked. "Our ancestors realized that holding the prisoners back wasn't enough. They needed a way to push forward, to develop countermeasures, to evolve." "Evolve into what?" the Thesian elder asked. Velen didn't answer. He stopped before a door that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Organic curves, metallic surfaces that pulsed with slow light, seams that breathed. Into something the prisoners couldn't predict. The door opened. Inside was a chamber the size of a small city. Its walls were covered in human technology, but not the primitive machines the galaxy had seen. This was something else. Something that hummed with energy that made the aliens' teeth ache and their skin prickle. And in the center of the chamber, suspended in a field of contained gravity, was a human. She was female, old, far older than any human the Thesians had ever seen. Her skin was weathered, her hair white, her body thin, but her eyes were sharp, alert, and they glowed with the same black light that the delegations had seen on Tauran 7. "Ambassador," she said, her voice carried no age, no weakness, "you brought them." Velen bowed his head. "Matron, the galaxy needed to see." The matron, for that was her title, the only title she had worn for longer than most species had existed, turned her gaze to the delegations. They felt her attention like a physical weight, like being examined by something that had forgotten what it meant to be prey. "You want to know what humans have been holding back," she said. "Not just the prisoners, not just the things beneath your feet. You want to know what we've been holding back from ourselves." She gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing more of the Crucible's interior. The delegations saw laboratories, training grounds, chambers filled with humans suspended in tanks, their bodies being slowly reshaped by technologies the galaxy couldn't comprehend. 20,000 years ago, our ancestors were given a choice. They could live in ignorance, unaware of what slept beneath them, or they could know the truth and become something new. "They chose the truth," Velen said. "They chose the weight," the matron corrected. "The burden, the endless, crushing responsibility of standing between the galaxy and its extinction, and they chose to bear that burden alone." She floated closer to the transparent barrier, her prison of gravity shifting to accommodate her movement. "Every human is born with a lock inside them, but some of us, the ones you see here, were born with something more. A key, a way to strengthen the locks, to build new ones, to push the prisoners deeper into their sleep." The Cathar representative stepped forward. "You're saying you've been modifying yourselves, for 15,000 years. We've been becoming what we need to be, the matron said. The prisoners feed on aggression, on war, on conflict. So we made ourselves peaceful not through suppression but through transformation. We rewired our own instincts. We learned to fight without hatred, to kill without rage, to contain violence rather than express it. She smiled. It was the most terrifying expression the aliens had ever seen. The prisoners expected us to become like them, to give in to our worst impulses, to break our own locks through warfare and conquest. Instead, we became locksmiths. We learned to build prisons inside our own souls. The chamber's walls showed images from human history, wars, conflicts, moments of terrible violence, but each image was overlaid with another, humans standing in the aftermath rebuilding, humans reaching out to former enemies, humans choosing something other than revenge. The galaxy saw humans as quiet, unremarkable, useful but not threatening. You never asked why we didn't conquer, why we didn't expand, why we seemed content to work the jobs no one else wanted. The matron's black eyes fixed on the Thesian elder. We weren't content. We were focused. Every human who picked up a mining laser instead of a weapon was making a choice. Every human who repaired a failing reactor instead of building a bomb was strengthening the locks. Every human who walked away from a fight was pushing the prisoners deeper into their sleep. Velen stepped beside the matron, and now the Vorkath have broken one of the locks. One of the prisoners is awake, and it thinks it can negotiate. The matron laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like breaking stone. It thinks we're still the species it imprisoned 20,000 years ago. It thinks we're still afraid, still desperate, still willing to sacrifice entire civilizations to keep it contained. She raised her hand. The chamber's gravity field shifted, releasing her from her bonds. She floated to the floor, landing with the grace of something that had not used legs in centuries. It's about to learn the truth. She walked toward the delegations. Each step left cracks in the floor. Humans didn't just build locks. We built weapons. Weapons the prisoners never imagined. Weapons that don't feed on aggression. They feed on containment, on sealing, on the quiet, patient work of holding back the dark. She stopped in front of the Thesian elder. We're going to Tauran 7. We're going to show the prisoner what 15,000 years of evolution looks like. And then we're going to offer it a choice it never expected. Which is, the elder whispered. The matron's smile widened. Sleep forever, or we teach the galaxy how to become like us, how to build locks of their own, how to imprison every prisoner in every system until there's nothing left but silence. She turned to Velen. Prepare the ship, we leave in 1 hour. Then she looked at the delegations. You wanted to know what humans were holding back. Now you're going to see it. She walked toward the chamber's exit, her ancient body moving with a purpose that made the aliens' blood run cold. Behind her, the suspended humans in their tanks began to open their eyes. The journey to Tauran 7 took 3 days. For the alien delegations traveling aboard the human warship Silent Vigil, it felt like 3 lifetimes. The ship was unlike anything they had seen. Its interior was not divided into compartments and corridors, but existed as a single, continuous space. Walls that shifted, rooms that appeared and disappeared, gravity that bent to the will of the crew. The humans who served aboard the vessel moved through it like fish through water, their bodies adjusting to changes in orientation that would have killed any other species. And the matron, she never slept, she never ate. She stood at the ship's forward observation deck, her black eyes fixed on the star field ahead, her ancient hands clasped behind her back. Velen stood beside her. The delegations are afraid. Good. They're asking questions about what we're going to do, about what happens to them if we fail. The matron didn't turn. If we fail, there won't be anyone left to ask questions. The ship's intercom crackled. Matron, we're approaching the Tauran 7 system. The containment dome is still active, but there's something wrong with the planet. Show me. The forward view shifted, displaying the blue-green world where 200,000 humans and one awakened prisoner waited. The containment dome was visible as a shimmer of light around the entire system, but beneath that light, the planet's surface was changing. Cracks appeared across continents. Structures rose from the oceans. Something was building itself on Torin 7, something massive. The prisoner is constructing a body, the matron said. It's using the Vorkath biomass, the human colonists, everything it consumed to build itself a form that can exist outside the containment zone. How long until it finishes? Hours, maybe less. Velen's jaw tightened. Then we're out of time. The matron shook her head. We're right on time. The silent vigil entered the Torin 7 system without resistance. The containment dome did not block them. The prisoner did not attack. The ship drifted toward the planet, past the empty space where the Vorkath fleet had been consumed, past the orbital infrastructure that now hung dark and silent. The delegations gathered on the observation deck, watching the planet grow larger. The structure rising from the surface was visible now, a tower of fused metal and flesh, kilometers tall, pulsing with the same black light that filled the matron's eyes. It's beautiful, the Cathar representative whispered. No, the matron said. It's desperate. It's been sleeping for 20,000 years and now it's trying to remember how to be alive. It's making mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The matron pointed at the tower's base. It's building a body that can't contain what it really is. It's trying to compress something infinite into something finite, and that means it has a weakness. Every prison has a weakness, Velen added. Every lock has a key. The prisoners taught us that. They just never realized we'd learn to use it against them. The ship settled into orbit. The matron turned to face the delegations. I'm going down there alone. If I don't come back, the silent vigil will take you to the edge of the system and wait. After 3 days, it will assume I've failed. It will activate the failsafe. What failsafe? The Thesian elder asked. Velen answered. Every human colony, every containment site, every lock we've ever built, they'll all open at once. The prisoners will wake up, and the galaxy will have to deal with them without us. That's your plan, release everything. The matron's smile returned. No, that's our threat. The prisoners don't want freedom if it means competing with each other. They've been asleep for so long because they couldn't agree on who would rule the waking world. The failsafe forces them to fight for dominance, and by the time they finish, there won't be anything left to conquer. She walked toward the ship's launch bay. I'm going to offer them a better option. The descent to Torin 7 took 20 minutes. The matron rode alone in a small landing craft, its hull unarmed, its shields unraised. She did not speak during the journey. She did not check her weapons or review her plans. She simply sat in the darkness, her black eyes reflecting the light of the dying planet below. The landing craft touched down at the base of the tower. The ground was soft, organic, pulsing, breathing. The matron stepped onto the surface and felt the prisoner's attention focus on her like a blade. You're old, a voice said, not aloud, inside her skull, older than the others. You've been holding the locks for a long time. I've been holding you for a long time, the matron replied, and I'm tired. Then let go, let us out, we can give you rest. You can give me death, that's not the same thing. The matron walked toward the tower. The ground hardened beneath her feet, forming a path. The walls of the tower opened, revealing an interior that looked like the inside of a living creature, veins, arteries, chambers that pulsed with light. We offered the galaxy a deal, the voice said. Hand over the warmakers, the conquerors, the ones who feed us, and we will leave the rest in peace. I know. You came to negotiate. No, the matron stepped into the tower's heart. I came to refuse. The pressure in her skull intensified. Then we will break every lock. Every human will become a door, and we will feast. You could try. The matron raised her hand. The ancient symbols on her palm began to glow, but you forgot something during your long sleep. What? You forgot that we've been awake. You forgot that we've been watching, learning, growing. The symbols spread from her palm, crawling up her arm, across her chest, over her entire body. She began to glow with the same containment light that surrounded the Torin 7 system. You forgot that humans don't just hold things back, we push them forward, we evolve, we become what we need to be. Her body began to change. Not aging or decaying, transforming. The ancient weakness in her limbs fell away. The years melted from her face. She stood taller, stronger, brighter. You forgot that we're not your prisoners anymore. The tower shuddered. The voice in her skull became a scream. We're your jailers. The matron's light exploded outward, filling the tower, filling the planet, filling the system. The delegations aboard the silent vigil watched as the containment dome collapsed inward, not destroying the prisoner but compressing it, forcing it back into a smaller and smaller space, back into the lock, back into the cage. And then silence. The matron walked out of the tower 3 hours later. The structure behind her crumbled, its organic surfaces turning to dust, its pooling chambers falling still. The cracks across Torin 7's surface stopped spreading. The ocean stopped rising. The planet began to heal. She looked different, not younger, transformed. Her skin carried the containment symbols now, woven into her flesh like tattoos made of light. Her eyes still glowed black, but the hunger was gone, replaced by something that looked like satisfaction. It's done, she said. Velen met her at the base of the tower, the prisoner. Asleep deeper than before. I rebuilt the lock from the inside. It won't wake for another 100,000 years, maybe longer. And the humans, the colonists. The matron's expression softened. Gone, all of them. The prisoner consumed their bodies to build the tower, but their minds. I saved what I could. They'll sleep with the prisoner, dreaming, waiting. Waiting for what? For us to find a way to bring them back. The matron looked up at the sky, where the silent vigil waited in orbit. We've learned a lot today, about the prisoners, about ourselves, about what we're capable of. Velen nodded. The delegations want to talk, they have questions. Let them ask. The meeting took place aboard the silent vigil, in a chamber that the ship had grown specifically for the occasion. The alien representatives sat in a circle, their expressions ranging from awe to terror to something that looked like hope. The matron stood in the center. You wanted to know what humans were holding back, she said. Now you know, not just the prisoners, not just the things beneath our worlds. You know what we've been holding back from ourselves. She raised her hand, showing the containment symbols that now covered her skin. We've been holding back our own evolution, our own transformation, because we were afraid of what we might become if we let go. And what have you become? The Thesian elder asked. The matron smiled. Locksmiths. We build prisons for things that should not exist. We seal away the darkness, and we do it without becoming dark ourselves. She walked around the circle, meeting each representative's eyes. The Vorkath are gone. Their empire will crumble. Other species will try to fill the void. They'll send fleets. They'll start wars. They'll test the limits of what humans will tolerate. She stopped at the Cathar representative. Let them come. We'll show them the same thing we showed the prisoner. We'll show them what it means to face something that doesn't fight back, that simply contains, absorbs, locks away. The Cathar representative swallowed. You're saying you'll imprison entire species. No, the matron's voice was gentle. We're saying we'll imprison their violence, their aggression, the parts of them that feed the prisoners, the parts that make war possible. She returned to the center of the circle. We spent 20,000 years learning how to do this to ourselves. We can teach you. We can show you how to build your own locks, how to contain your own darkness, how to become something other than prey for the things that sleep beneath the galaxy. The Thesian elder stood. And if we refuse, if some species don't want to change? The matron's black eyes fixed on him. Then you'll face the prisoners alone, because we won't hold them back forever. We've been doing it for 20,000 years and we're tired. We want to live. We want to build. We want to explore the galaxy without the weight of extinction on our shoulders. She extended her hand. So here's the choice. Learn to build locks. Learn to contain your own violence. Or find a new place to live far from human space where the prisoners can't reach you. And if we can't, then you'll die, the prisoners will wake. They'll feed on your wars, your conquests, your endless hunger for conflict. And when they're done, they'll come for us. The chamber fell silent. The matron lowered her hand. I'm offering you a way out, a way to become something more than prey, a way to stand beside humans as equals, not as dependents. She looked at each representative one final time. But you have to choose today, right now, because we're done waiting. The Thesians chose first. Their council elder stepped forward and placed his hand on the matron's glowing palm. The symbols spread from her skin to his, wrapping around his arm, his chest, his heart. He gasped, not in pain but in revelation. I see, he whispered. I see what you've been carrying. The Cathar representative followed. Then the others. One by one, the species of the galaxy stepped forward and accepted the weight, accepted the lock, accepted the burden of holding back their own darkness. Velen watched from the edge of the chamber. He had already made this choice, centuries ago, when he first learned the truth about humanity's purpose. He had carried the lock ever since, had felt it shift and settle every time he chose peace over violence, containment over conquest. The matron finished her work and stood among the transformed representatives. Their bodies now carried symbols, like hers, like Velen's, like every human who had ever chosen to be more than a cage. You'll feel it, she said. Every time you want to strike out in anger, every time you want to start a war, the lock will hold you back. It will give you a moment to choose differently. And if we choose wrong, the Cathar representative asked, then the lock breaks, and you become a door, and something hungry comes through. She turned to face the viewport, where the stars waited. But that won't happen, because now you know what we know. Now you carry what we carry. Now you're part of something bigger than yourself. She placed her hand on the transparent surface. You're part of the lock, all of you, every species, every world, every being willing to hold back the dark. Behind her, the transformed representative stood in silence. Outside, the galaxy waited. And for the first time in 20,000 years, it was not afraid. 1 year later, the Thesian capital hosted the first assembly of contained species. Every delegation that walked into the Great Hall carried symbols on their skin, glowing patterns that shifted with their emotions, darkened with their rage, brightened with their restraint. The locks had become part of them, part of their culture, part of their identity. Ambassador Velen stood at the center of the chamber, addressing the assembly for the first time as something other than a human representative. He spoke for all of them now, for every species that had accepted the weight. When we started this journey, the galaxy thought humans were holding something back. You were right. We were holding back extinction. We were holding back chaos. We were holding back the end of everything. He paused. But we were also holding back something else, something we didn't even realize until the matron showed us. He raised his hand, and the symbols on his skin flared. We were holding back connection. We were holding back community. We were holding back the simple, profound truth that we are not alone in this galaxy, and that being not alone means being responsible for each other. The assembly chamber was silent. The prisoners are still asleep. They'll wake again someday. They'll test the locks. They'll look for weaknesses. They'll try to break free. He smiled. And when they do, they'll find a galaxy that no longer feeds them. A galaxy that has learned to contain its own violence. A galaxy that has become a lock of its own. The representatives rose, not in fear, not in awe, in recognition. The prisoners expected us to fight each other, to tear ourselves apart, to make their freedom inevitable. Velen's voice hardened. They were wrong. The matron did not attend the assembly. She stood on the surface of Earth, at the edge of the primary lock, looking down into the darkness that had consumed her ancestors for 20,000 years. Velen found her there after the assembly concluded. "They asked about you," he said. "They wanted to thank you." The matron shook her head. "I don't need thanks, I need rest." "You've earned it." "Have I?" She turned to face him. "The locks are stronger now. More species carry them. The prisoners are deeper than ever, but they're still there, still waiting, still hungry." Velen nodded. "That's why we have to keep building, keep evolving, keep becoming something the prisoners can't predict." The matron's black eyes softened. "Do you know what I saw when I rebuilt the lock on Torin 7? When I pushed the prisoner back into its cage?" "What?" "I saw the future. Not a prophecy, not a vision, a possibility." She looked back at the abyss. "I saw a galaxy where the locks aren't needed anymore, where the prisoners have finally fallen so deep into their sleep that they forget how to wake, where every species has learned to contain its own darkness so completely that there's nothing left for the prisoners to feed on." She placed her hand on Velen's shoulder. "It's a long way off, centuries, millennia, but it's possible." "Then we keep walking," Velen said. "One step at a time, one lock at a time, one choice at a time." The matron smiled. "That's what humans have always done. That's what we've always held back from ourselves." She turned away from the abyss. The patience, the persistence, the refusal to give up even when giving up would be easier. She walked past Velen, toward the surface, toward the light. The prisoners never understood that. They thought our silence was fear, our restraint was weakness, our containment was desperation. She stopped at the elevator. They didn't understand that we weren't holding back because we were afraid of what would happen if we let go. She stepped inside. We were holding back because we were saving it, all of it, the rage, the violence, the hunger. We were saving it for the moment we needed it most. The elevator doors closed. And somewhere in the darkness beneath the earth, something ancient and patient and terrible heard her words. And for the first time in 20,000 years, it felt something new. Fear.